Hello everyone, welcome back to my video tutorial series where we cover how to create homebrew games on the Xbox 360. So in today's lesson we'll be covering creating a minimap. So this will enable you to see yourself and enemies on the map while you go around the stage. Alright, so without further delay, let's get started. Alright, so first off, we need somewhere to place a map. So we're just gonna create a canvas. So you right click on anywhere. Then you're gonna go to UI, click on canvas, and let's call this canvas. Okay, let's call it that for now. And we're gonna move it out to our main scene. So it's not a child of any one of the these prefab that was added. Once we have that done, we need an image or a border for our minimap. So I'm gonna right click, go back to UI, and we're gonna do image. We're gonna set the image. So most likely we want the minimap to be at the top left. So we do top left, and we want to position the minimap, but let's give it a size. So let's do 256 by 256, and we're gonna move the position. So let's try 60. What's going on? 256. Let's try 1. Okay. Let's bring this up right there. Okay, so minus 140, and let's put this one at 140. So our minimap going to be right at this corner right there. Then we're going to name this minimap border. So we have that set. Now that we have our border right here, we're going to create something that should display the minimap. So we're going to make that a child of minimap border. So right click, going to go back to UI, you're going to create the image again, and this will be our minimap. So let's call this minimap. And we're going to make sure that we set this to center. So be that the border is 256 by 256, so we can just make this 250. And because it's white, we want to make sure that we can see it. But let's do that with the border first. So the border itself. So see there's a black border around here. If one we can make the minimap a little bit smaller so you can see the border more. So let's do that. So let's call this let's try 245. Alright, that's a bit better. Alright, so this may pose a problem. So let's inverse the color. Let's make the border white. And the minimap itself get a darker color. All right, so that should work. All right, so what we're going to need next, we're going to need a camera. So we're going to go to the canvas there. We're going to create a camera. And we need to place the camera above where the players will start, or where your player one will be. So let's locate our camera or a scene. Let's go here some more. Okay, we have our camera right there. Alright, so we have our camera there. Let's bring it up some more. That should do. Then we're going to change the X. Let's try it 90 degrees. And let's center the camera here some more. And bring it up. I think that will be good enough for our map. Center it like that. And that looks good enough. Alright, so while on our camera, we're going to make some changes here. So right now it's the projection is set to perspective. We're going to change that to orthographic. And this is where we use the size and we can adjust how high we want the map. And you can adjust this based on how you would want it. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it right there. So you have where the main camera is, and you can see a bit of the other section of the stage that your main character will enter. Then we're going to remove other listener. We don't need this component. All right. Now to get whatever showing in the camera to be showed on the minimap, what we're going to do is go back to our minimap canvas. And we are going to remove the image script and we're going to add a raw image. And this is where we're going to add some component to allow this projection of the minimap to be where it should be. All right. And one of the main thing that this minimap need is a texture. And that's what we're going to work on creating right now. So in our project area, we can right click, create, and we need to create a rendered texture. That is what we're going to actually use. And to make things a bit more clean, we can move our rendered texture, put in our game folder. So it's right there. And we can rename this. Let's call it minimap render. So once we have our minimap render, we can see that it come up with a size of 256 and our minimap is 245. So we want to make sure that the render area will be 245. So let's go back to here. We're going to call this 245 by 245. Whoop. All right. All right, there we have that. And what we're going to do, we're going to put that texture and add it to our texture image right here. So just pull that minimap, add it right there, and we can see where it had right there. No, we don't need to mess with that. So that's fine where it is. All right. So now that we have this all set up, so what we need to do, our camera and target texture, which are a minimap render. So we want our camera to render on this rendering image right here. So we're gonna drag it like the camera, and there we have our minimap looking good already. And as I say, you can adjust the prospect of this camera if you want it to be zoomed in more or zoom out more. It's all by preference, but I'm just gonna leave it as it is right now. All right, so we're just gonna give this a small test run to see how exactly it will look. All right, so you can see the character moving around the minimap, looking good. All right, so one thing we're going to want to do, let's see, main player, player one. All right, I have two player here. Let's try something. I'm gonna move our camera. And let's place it on our player. I'm gonna reach the top. Let's place on our player and let's see what happens. All right. So as we can see, we placed on our player, but the camera rotates with the player, and we don't want that to happen. We want the camera to actually be fixed. So we're gonna be writing a script to add to the camera so we can make that possible. All right, so what we're gonna do, we are gonna go into our game folder right here. We're gonna create a new folder. We're gonna call this folder scripts. And in this folder, we're going to create a script and we're going to call that, let's call it fix camera. That will make the camera at the fixed position. All right, and let's jump into this. Let's ignore that. Okay. All right, so in this script, we're going to use LateUpdate because we want to update, technically update after the character move, but to look like while the character is moving, the map is updating because that happened like in split milliseconds. So let's do that. So first we're gonna have a public game object. So this is where we're gonna put our player preview. So we're gonna assign the player to the camera object, and you'll see. Let's call this player, and that's gonna be the player. That. Should not be capital. Okay. Alright, so why am I getting this here? Okay, we'll fix it in a bit, but let's do this. Did I delete something that I should not have? Okay, everything seems right in the script. Alex, go ahead with that. We'll figure that error out as we go along. You may not have encountered that. Probably does something with what I was doing. Alright, so that's the character's position, and we're gonna use vector. So we're using the player's position to map it onto the camera. The character's X position. I'm gonna use 40. That seems like a standard value that works for minimaps. Alright, so that's the script we're gonna be using. Don't know why I'm getting that, but let's try that out. So we're gonna place that script on the camera. So what we're gonna do next, so we're gonna go into our main character. And we're gonna take the camera out. And let's place extra. So let's place the camera here. Let's do that. Add component. Add script. Gonna add fixed camera. And let's see if that fixes our issue. Alright, so now that we juggle our camera, if we try to move, we can see that the camera is still static, nothing's happening. And what we need to do, we need to assign the player to the camera. If we look down by the bottom here we have the error. We said the variable player of fifth camera have not been assigned, right at the bottom left of the screen. So what we need to do, we need to go all the way up, and we need to grab our player from the player prefab. Let me go back down and click on camera. And this is the object we created, the game object. So we'll grab player and we put player right in that section. So if we go back to our map, we can see the map is moving along with the player. And there, if there were enemy on the map, you will see enemy on the map. So I don't like the position of this camera. So let's see if we can fix the rotation. All right, so let's set this to 0. Next, a map. So there we have it. We have our mini map. Can go through and see what's happening. And as I say, you can always change the scale. It based on preference. So if you want it all the way out, you can do it like change it all the way out. And in that sense, you would create dot icons for the player. So you create like a blue dot for the player and a red dot for the enemies. If you zoom it out that far, because you need to be able to identify, you know, what's in the stage itself. But other than that, we can bring it down like that. So it enable you to see what's around certain corner and stuff like that. Let's bring it down like that. Right, and there we have our minimap. If you have any questions or comments, just leave it below. If you run into any issue while creating your minimap, also leave any question regarding that below in the comments. And in our next lesson, what we'll be doing, we'll be creating key card access and different key card color that go with the different door. So, for example, if you need a blue card to open this door, the panel display will be blue and there will be a blue light on top of the door. So once you have a card, you'll be able to access the panel. If you don't have a card, you won't be able to unlock the door. So we're working on that in our next tutorial. If you have any more questions or anything, leave it below, like and subscribe. And remember that at 500 subscription, I'll be giving away a console. You can check the details on one of my videos in the channel. All right, thanks for watching.